tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever.
Ready? Okay.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right,
come to
Jimmy,
me.
are you ready? Jimmy's
Yes.
ready, ladies and gentlemen. Back to Jimmy.
So Joe Biden gave a speech, which I'm going to show you a bit of in just a second. But this was the day before. Gave a speech that said we need to tamp down the political rhetoric. So this was the day before Trump was almost assassinated. This is what Joe Biden was saying.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation.
So that's the kind of stuff they were saying. Here's more of it. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country. To the very soul. Wow. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans. So that means half the country. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul. So he's doing that thing. Donald Trump is the greatest threat to our democracy. Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to... He's not. That's just not a political opponent that you would disagree with. Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. Trump poses many threats. He's the greatest threat. So now he gives this speech after Donald Trump, because he turned his head and the bullet went through his ear instead of his head, is still alive. Now he gives this. After all that, he gives this speech.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree.
Now, if you listen to the corporate news, they make it sound like Donald Trump is the one who's been raising the temperature in the politics. Not Joe Biden, not the president of the United States. Or the corporate media. Boy, it's funny to watch the corporate media try to cover Trump now. Have you seen any of the coverage today? They don't know what to do with themselves. They don't know what to do if they're not calling him Hitler. They don't know what to do. Because now they can't do that anymore because he almost got killed.
We are not enemies. We're neighbors.
Oh, here we go.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends.
That's not what you were saying before. You were saying MAGA Republicans are a threat to our democracy. They don't respect our democracy. And now he sounds like Jimmy Dore. Now all of a sudden, your assassination attempt on your political enemy doesn't work. And now you're saying, hey, we're friends, we're neighbors. I thought you hated those people. I thought you said they were enemies to our democracy, because that is what you said. They're a threat to our country. Not just Trump, but those people who support Trump. And now you sound like Jimmy Dore. Oh, your problem isn't your neighbor?
Co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're our fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yes.
That is not his message. That hasn't been his message for the last 20 years. And it certainly hasn't been his message for the last 4 years. Now he's pretending like, oh, look, kumbaya, I love everybody. Huh. And he won't take responsibility for what he said the day before. The day before. Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country. Here's the day before. The day before.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation.
He means it from the bottom of his heart. Trump and MAGA are a threat to the very soul of this country. And now listen to him.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're our fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured.
Former Trump, Sounds like he died. Sounds like he's still writing him off. Former Trump.
You know, I just want to point out that he said the shooting at the rally yesterday instead of saying the attempted assassination.
Yeah, that's right. Good catch.
Last night, I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family.
Why would you be grateful that a guy who was a threat to the soul of our nation is doing well? I'm getting mixed messages, Joe.
Prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed.
You mean the MAGA supporter that you said was a threat to the soul of our nation? You want us to extend condolences to that guy? I thought you hated those people, Joe. I thought you said from the bottom of your heart they were a threat to the soul of our country. But now he loves those people, apparently. Apparently he realizes that he's the president of all America.
Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers.
This is the first time he's ever said anything decent about a Trump supporter. This is the only time he's ever done that.
Today.
Here's what he used to say about them. Remember this? This is when he wanted you to hate your neighbor and think that your neighbor was the problem. Not the oligarchy, not the establishment, not the political class, not the donors, not the establishment, but your neighbor. This is Joe Biden making you hate your neighbor.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. But there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution.
But I thought you just said that guy who was a volunteer fireman who got killed at Trump rally, MAGA guy. I thought he said he's a great guy. You're glad that Trump's doing okay. These people who are a threat to our democracy. This is weird. I'm getting mixed messages, Joe.
They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people.
Well, if they're this horrible, sounds like that's why everybody's gone bored for throwing them in jail, right? Like on January 6th and Donald Trump, his 4 different bullshit prosecutions.
The forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans quote a clear and present danger to our democracy. But while the threat to American democracy is real, I want to say as clearly as we can, we are not powerless in the face of these threats. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. We've told ourselves that American democracy is guaranteed, but it's not. We have to defend it, protect it, stand up for it.
Against half the country. Half the country wants to get rid of our democracy and our way of life and our Constitution.
Each and every one of us, we're all called by duty and conscience to confront extremists who put their own pursuit of power above all else. We must be stronger, more determined, and more committed to saving American democracy than MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. MAGA Republicans look...
These people, he's telling America that half of America is the enemy of America. They're your enemies.
Americans see carnage and darkness and despair. They spread fear and lies. Lies told for profit and power.
Which is exactly what Joe Biden's done his entire career. And what he's doing in this speech. He's making you turn on your neighbor. He's making you think that Donald Trump is going to end our country. So why wouldn't some deranged moron, want to take a shot at him?
The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail.
And now this is what he says.
You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down.
Time to cool it down.
We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well.
He believes it with all his soul. How much soul is that, Joe? Pat Boone has more soul than Joe Biden. And there's half the audience. Who's Pat Boone?
And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. All of us now face...
And remember, when you want to simmer down violence, you whisper like you're sneaking up behind some young girl to tell her she smells nice.
The time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box. No violence on our streets.
At the battle box. We call it the battle box. That's that show Bill Dwyer hosts now in Vegas.
That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America.
So here's what happens if Donald Trump dies while running in 2024 presidential election. Democrats have been citing this for a long time, says Western Lensman. Here's what happens if Donald Trump dies while running in the that's a headline. Listen to this.
He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
He will do, he will get away with, he will imprison, he will execute whoever he's allowed to imprison, execute.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous because he has actually said out loud that it would be okay to terminate the Constitution to keep him in power.
Well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right.
Somebody with those tendencies, those dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies would be like, oh, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to throw these people in jail.
Sounds like Nazism, if it walks like Nazism, if you're not exactly sure what you call it, if you don't call it fascism.
Donald Trump is going to consolidate power, politicize the rule of law, and break down democracy one day at a time.
The man means to throw people in jail who disagree with him, shut down legitimate press outlets, do what he can.
That's exactly what Joe Biden and the Democrats have done. They're trying to throw Donald Trump in prison because he's their political opponent. And they tried to kill Julian Assange for how many years? They put him in Belmarsh prison, which is UK's equivalent of Guantanamo, for 5 years. Who did that?
To literally undermine the rule of law and our country's value. I think it would be the end of our country as we know it.
The only thing that stood between him and the destruction of American democracy was the federal judiciary.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. That's kind of amazing.
He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
He will do, he will get away with, he will imprison, he will execute whoever he's allowed to imprison, execute.
A lot of people have tried to draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler. The difference, though, I think makes Donald Trump even more dangerous because he has actually said out loud that it would be okay to terminate the Constitution to keep him in power.
Well, Hitler was duly elected.
That's right.
Somebody with those tendencies, those dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies would be like, oh, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to throw these people in jail.
Sounds like Nazism, if it walks like Nazism, if you're not exactly sure what you call it, if you don't call it fascism.
Donald Trump is going to consolidate power, politicize the rule of law, and break down democracy one day at a time.
The man means to throw people in jail who disagree with him, shut down legitimate press outlets, do what he can to literally undermine the rule of law and our country's value. I think it would be the end of our country as we know it.
The only thing that stood between him and the destruction of American democracy was the federal judiciary.
No doubt about it.
So there you go. And if you watch the corporate news, they are saying that it's Donald Trump has contributed to his own assassination attempt. That it's his rhetoric, not Joe Biden's, not Hillary Clinton's, not the MSNBC maniacs. Okay, over to Steph.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Sherelle says Pennsylvania has closed primaries. Many Democrats switched to Republican to vote against Trump in the GOP primary election. Sherelle. Jimmy, this was a setup, but not the way you think. Please look in the Dark to Light program from content creator, probably Alexandra. This is urgent. Project 2025 is real and part of the plan. The Gray Raven.
Okay. All right. Come on to me.
Back to Jimmy.
So guess what? The maniacs over at MSNBC got canceled today. They wouldn't let them go on the air after Trump got after his assassination attempt. Morning Joe pulled from air Monday because of Trump shooting. What happened, guy? Did Joe Scarborough just crumble apart like gluten-free bread? What happened? Is he sitting naked in some padded corner with Keith Olbermann and Rob Reiner, draped in an American flag? Because that's what I think. Is he writing his contract terms in feces on the wall? That's what I think's happening. MSNBC will not air Morning Joe, its celebrated political roundtable program, on Monday, opting to instead air continued breaking news coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. The Progressive News Network confirmed the decision to preempt its influential and top-rated morning show after a CNN inquiry Sunday evening. The network said the show will resume airing on Tuesday. So I guess tomorrow it'll be back on. So if you're going to watch this as a video, which will be released tomorrow, which will be Tuesday, it's supposedly back on the air. So did they have to send him to anger management courses and stuff like that? This is really something. He must have been on the phone telling his producers that there's no way not to look like a piece of shit now. Because he does. The decision by MSNBC to leave one of its most recognizable programs on the sidelines amid a seismic politics-driven news cycle, with the Republican National Convention getting underway in the wake of Saturday's shooting at Trump's campaign rally, is certain to raise eyebrows. They also refer to it as the Saturday shooting at Trump's rally. It sounds like somebody was shot somebody else. It was an assassination attempt. CNN, huh? A person familiar with the matter told CNN that the decision was made to avoid a scenario in which one of the show's stable of 24+ guests might make an inappropriate comment. Oh, one of the guests would? Not Joe Scarborough. Okay. In a comment on live television that could be used to assail the program and network as a whole. Yeah. Well, how about you just don't bring on guests? Why would you do that? They're afraid of Joe Scarborough. Given the breaking news nature of the story, the person said it made more sense to continue airing rolling breaking news coverage in the fraught political moment. Really? Put it on the guest. It's not Joe Joe Scarborough. Given the gravity and complexity of this unfolding story, NBC News, NBC News Now, and MSNBC have remained in rolling breaking news coverage since Saturday evening. As we continue to cover this story into the week, the networks will continue to cross simulcast, alternating between NBC News, NBC News Now, and what the hell is that? Does anybody even know what that is?
No.
I don't watch that corporate news like I used to. I don't watch it at all, in fact. NBC News Now and MSNBC reports. So there is one news feed covering this developing situation. In the wake of the attempt on Trump's life, some of the former president's supporters have vehemently criticized the press and liberal media commentators for their hard-knuckled reporting.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not hard-knuckled, CNN. It's knuckle-brained. It's inflammatory. It's over the top. It's what the lefties like to call stochastic terrorism. Which has sounded the alarm on what 4 more years under the former president would look like. So this CNN bullshit article makes it sound like they're just telling you the truth, and the MAGA supporters can't take it. Cesar Conde, the chairman of NBC Universal News Group, made the decision in conjunction with Rashida Jones, the president of MSNBC, and hosts Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, the person familiar with the matter. Oh, really? They all, yeah, Mika and Joe, they wanted to take themselves off the air. Over the course of the campaign cycle, news organizations have reported at length on Trump's plans to warp the federal government for his own ends. What the fuck? They're still doing it. They don't know how else to report on Trump, but to make him out to be some maniac who's going to wreck our country. Even though he was president for 4 years already. Including seek vengeance against his political opponents. Do you mean what the Biden administration is doing right now? The 4 bullshit indictments of Donald Trump. That reporting is now facing scrutiny, with some Trump supporters blaming it for producing a charged atmosphere that gave way to the assassination attempt. You think? While mostly looking past the incendiary rhetoric of the former president. Oh, yeah, really? This is wow. So are they going to claim that because they've chosen not to broadcast Morning Joe after the assassination attempt, that that's Donald Trump already censoring them? MSNBC has in particular been blasted by Trump allies, putting the network in the spotlight. Some of Trump's allies have gone as far. I'm not a Trump ally, and I'm blasting them. They always have to make it, oh, it's just the people who like Trump. No, it's anybody who's sober. Some of Trump's allies have gone as far as to attack the network's parent company, Comcast. Attack them? You mean like try to shoot them in the head? It's not the first time MSNBC has made such programming decisions in charged political moments. Hey, if they're attacking Comcast, I take a number and get in line. Last year, after Hamas executed its deadly October 7th... Oh, they're still doing this. After Hamas did their October 7th attack on Israel, MSNBC quietly pulled 3 of its Muslim broadcasters from the air. It wasn't so quiet. Everybody noticed. You know who didn't do anything about it because they don't have any integrity or character? Chris Hayes, fake tough guy Lawrence O'Donnell, Rachel Maddow, the people who host the shows there. None of them did anything. That move, which came after some pro-Israel forces criticized the tone of MSNBC's coverage, left some staffers at the network feeling uncomfortable. Not uncomfortable enough to say anything or do anything, but comfortable enough to keep taking their paycheck and going on air and not doing anything. Scarborough in 2023, if he's elected, Trump will execute whoever he wants. You want to see him say it? Here it is.
And if he is voted into office, then a lot of these people that are talking about literal or figurative or whatever the hell they're saying, you're going to look like idiots because he will get away with, he will imprison, he will execute whoever he's allowed to imprison, execute, drive from the country. Just look at his past. It's not really hard to read. The only thing that stood between him and the destruction of American democracy was the federal judiciary.
Joe Scarborough, so he is so interchangeably stupid with the other Joe running the country at this point. And he knows damn well that every president has had people executed. Barack Obama executed a 16-year-old American citizen extrajudicially. And they're all war criminals. So that's what they were afraid of. They're afraid of him going off like the maniac that he is. So I find it funny that Trump gets assassination attempt and Joe Scarborough doesn't get to go on TV. But you should watch them how they are covering the RNC. I watched a little bit of it today. They don't know what to say. The corporate press doesn't know what to say. They don't know how to cover it. Okay, over to stuff.
Right, because their vitriol is usually to divide the nation.
Yes.
Now they have to think about,
now they go, yeah.
Those are good people. The other Americans that aren't Democrats, they're still good people. Yikes. Hey, Sherelle says, Pennsylvania has closed primaries. Many Democrats switched to Republican to vote. I read that one, right, Sherelle? All right. Hannah, sir, LOL, YouTube wouldn't let me chat this. Such good distraction for the useless class. Jimmy, what do you think Young would say about all this? Oh, I asked that earlier. K-Cot was. Read the red thread. A search for ideological drivers inside the anti-Trump conspiracy lets you know what we're dealing with. Brian, thank you, Brian. The USSR conference was just about security for the RNC. Ms. Jake, thank you, Ms. Jake. I can assure you the USSR is pro-Trump. It's the appointed leaders that even most of the agents hate that are not pro-Trump. 89 Delta. It's hard to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, but it's especially important that we do so even when it's hard. Spread the love. Forgo. Thank you, Forgo. Tom, thank you. Jordan Shirt. Thank you, Jordan Shirt. Much appreciated. Ristos, my cat loves your show. Thank you, Ristos. I am Yes on Sunday's show. The day is a wide open podcasting. May Jest. Thank you for that recommendation.
What's that?
They love the Sunday live stream that you did.
Well, it was very popular, so maybe we start doing Sundays if we're in town and not do Mondays. I don't know, or maybe not do Fridays. I don't know what to do.
I know. Hey, Nicola, thank you so much. The Napsky, thank you so much. SS, how disgusting for them to just use and throw away a young 20-year-old like this. Our society is evil. Mindrunner, do you think the deep state scrubbed the kid's social media footprint prior to the incident? Good question.
Okay.
Thank you. Back to Jimmy.
So you
No more! I yield! I yield! Oh! Ah!
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit
Isn't it swell? The memes make themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, you know, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, you know, the babies that have been murdered, you know, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us, but past that to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, you know, money poor people. You know, this government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But you know, something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. You know, we don't really know what war is. You know, for black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, you know, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison. But they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, you know, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, you know, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators. And they're going to have riots on their hands. You know, they're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. You know, we have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating, you know, what we need, what needs to be done. And, you know, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. I mean, you know, don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, you know, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, you know, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, you know, this system and those backing the officials running this system, you know, want people to believe that revolution means violence, you know, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it. Then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just move babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, you know, making a quick buck, you know. I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, you know, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, you know, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. You know, how long are people going to sit back and beg, you know, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years all you've gotten is a slap in the face? All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.